Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and peace be upon you this morning. So, in this video, we are going to learn how to configure default static routes with backup. Remember in the previous video, we learned how to configure static route, the normal static route with the backup. Okay, so why would we need to configure default static route? Alright, I'll open our Google spreadsheet. I'll let you know that today we're number 9, the last part, default static route plus the backup, which is a floating static route. Okay, all right. So we will need to configure the default static route when we don't know the destination that our host might request. So, for example, this host here wants to request, wants to go to a destination that this router doesn't know, or rather it doesn't have its routing entries. So in that case, we use default static route to forward that traffic. Okay, so you can see in this topology here, I have structured it such that it has two ISPs, the first ISP and the second ISP. So meaning we have redundancy. Whenever one ISP goes down, another one picks up. Okay, all right, that's for internet purposes. So the first ISP is ISP1, ISP2. So we want to make ISP1 our primary internet source. So whenever ISP1 is down, ISP2 will pick up. Very simple. So that's why we want to configure default static route. And default static route, we normally configure it to the router that is connected to ISP. That's why you can see I have included ISP1 and ISP2. The reason why I have included two ISPs is to include the backup. Very important. Alright, so I'll open a notepad, and highlight the steps that will follow to achieve this objective. So step 1 is always to draw the necessary topology, decorate and comment. So you can see I drew this topology using 3 routers. The first router is our internal router, then it's connected to ISPs for redundancy and for the internet access. Alright, then we have simple LAN here, and on the ISPs we just connected computers, although we are not going to do anything with these computers, right? Okay, so when we go to step 2, configure IP addresses to the routers and the hosts. So basically what I'm going to do is to configure, I've already configured IP address to these hosts. You see, okay, the 2 hosts. I've configured IP address to these 2 hosts. Okay, you can see 1.20 and the default gateway is that one. So the default gateway of this LAN should be the IP address of this interface. So this interface is gig02. So whenever I go to gig02, I just want to do it from using the GUI to make it quick and very simple. Just turn it on first, then configure IP address, which is 192.168.1.1. Good. So guys, in this demo, I'm not going to configure these pieces that are connected to the ISP. I just want to show you how to configure default route and its backup. Okay? Alright. So what I'll do, I'll just turn this interface up so that it doesn't look strange. That's just want to turn it up so that it doesn't look strange. Okay? Alright. But I will not do any configuration on the computers or the other side of the router. Just the one that are connected to our internal router. Okay, all right. So when I go back to Notepad, it says configure default static routes to 2 ISPs. Use IP address of the next hop. All right. So we're going to configure static routes to the ISPs. Remember, we're going to configure default static route to the ISPs. So the first one, we said that this one will be our primary internet source. But whenever that fails, we fail over to this one. Okay? Alright, so let's use this as our primary and we configure default static route such that default static route basically means that whenever the destination doesn't match the routing entries, then the router will use the default static route to forward that traffic. Okay, alright, so I just click on this one, come to CLI and exit, and just the IP route. This is how to configure default static route. Default static route is always 00000. We say any IP address with any subnet mask. Okay, so whenever this router receives any IP address with any subnet mask, then that traffic should be forwarded to this router. So we tried the IP address of this interface, okay, the directly connected one. Okay, it was 200.150.2. That's all. This is the default static route. It's normally denoted with 000. Any subnet mask with any IP address with any subnet mask should be forwarded to this router, which is the IP address of this interface. Okay, all right. Okay, so we've forwarded the traffic here. So the traffic is here. So let's tell this router whenever it receives any traffic that is matching our inside network, it should return it back to the router. Okay, this one. So I go here also. Now here I'm just going to configure a normal static route. Okay, so I'll just say come to CLI and exit. So this IP route 192.168.1.0. The server was 255.255.255.0. What I'm trying to do is that, remember, I have configured static route to our ISPs. Now the traffic has reached ISP. So ISP must return the traffic back. So it's going to use this static route to return the traffic back to our inside router. So now that we should be forwarded to this IP address to the next hop, which is 150.1. So 150.1, and that's all. So that's all. So let's go back to see what's on our notepad. So on the step 4, we say that trace out the path. So let's say we want to try to ping google.com. We want to try to reach google.com because the main purpose of the default route is to forward any traffic that doesn't match the routing table. Okay, all right. So we want to try to trace route google.com. So let's just go here and say trace that. Google.com is 8.8.8.8, and we hit enter. So you can see when I try to trace route google.com, the path is that it first goes to our default gateway, which is the IP address of this one. Then it goes to this one, 200.150.2, which was the IP address of the first ISP. Then now you can see the loop is there. Okay, now that means that we've successfully achieved the default route. Okay, all right. So you can see the loop is still there because we didn't specify any routes here. We didn't configure routes here to forward traffic to any host. Okay, we only configured static route here to return back the traffic to this route, but to go out we didn't do that. Okay, that's why you can see it's just looping to that IP address. Okay, all right. So that's working. Now. Our default route is working. It can go to this router and that router can turn it back. Okay, all right, because we tried to trace route IP address of the google.com, and you could see it first went to our default gateway, then the next hop, which was our primary path. All right, so when you go back to our notepad, configure default static route to 2 ISPs using here should be the backup now, or the floating. Okay, floating static route to the ISPs and use that one. So remember, this is our primary path. Now let's make this our secondary path, such that when our main ISP or the internet source is down, then the primary one will pick up. So I just go here and we just say a very simple command, just same like this one, IP route. We're giving a backup of this. So this is how we write it. The same IP route, any IP address with any separate mask should go through this router now, not this way, but now this way. Okay, so it will use IP address of this interface, which was 250.6. So I just change this one to 6. And what is much important about backup routes is always administrative distance. You have to make it with the higher administrative distance. So let's say 130. That's all. So we need to go back to this router here. You see this one, and tell the traffic how to come back. Okay, we need to go to this router and tell the traffic how to come back. So I'm going to this router here and configure a normal static route. Enable config T. Okay, so just say IP route. Where do you want it to go? Now we know the destination. Okay, destination is, we want it to come back. The destination is 192.168.1.0 with the server mask of 255.255.255.0. Okay, then it should be forwarded to which router? This one, IP address of this one, which was 200.100.50.eos.5. That's all. We've finally achieved default static route plus its backup. So whenever the primary ISP fails, the secondary ISP will pick up. Very, very simple and very important. Okay, all right. So when I go back to our notepad, we can see that trace out the path. So we are still going to trace out the path. When we still trace out the path, guys, you can see it's still going through the primary ISP, which had 150.2. So I want a situation whereby the primary ISP fails. So what I'll do, I'll just try to remove this link here. All right, then I go back here and try to trace out again. When I try to trace out again, now it should take the secondary path. Let's see now. You see, where is it going now? It's going to 150.6, which was our ISP2. Guys, this is a very, very important video. It has helped you know how to configure the default static route plus the backup. Whenever the first ISP fails, the second ISP will back up. And remember, ISP routers are normally connected to provide internet access. So we configure default route because we don't know the destination where our inside host will request. So that's very, very simple. And if I try to return this one and just monitor it, you can see it will come back to our main path, okay, which was our default, our primary path. You can see it has come back to 50.2 because I've just connected it. So thank you so much, guys. I'll go here and mark that as done. So when we meet next, we start on RIP, which is RIP, HSRP, OSPF, and we finally conclude with BGP. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share with friends, and write a comment below to indicate whether you have any doubts, you have any question, or any suggestion. Bye, and see you again in the next class.